Just wanted to do a little reaction video to Michael Breed, who, by the way, is probably a great guy. He's nothing against Michael Breed, but I saw this video and he mentions a bent back arm at contact. And a few years ago, even just I never hear guys talk about this. Something I've noticed for a long time now. And it's just interesting to actually hear an instructor talk about it. And it seems like I've never heard Michael Breed actually talk about it. To me, it's the most important characteristic because of what it is telling us about what's going on in a great swing. Yes, you will tend to see the better ball strikers have a more bent back arm at contact. I've noticed this for maybe a couple decades now. And I think one of the things that helped me notice it was the fact that I was studying the baseball swing and golf swing at the same time and noticed that the best hitters had it too. This could have been an advantage and maybe why it has taken golf so long to see this. So Michael Breed has seen this. Let's hear what he has to say.
I want you to think about using your dominant hand, your dominant arm, and that is the trail arm. So all the studies that I've done...
So right there, that to me is a misinterpretation of what a bent back arm is actually telling us. To me, what a bent back arm is telling us, and again, it took me decades to understand this because I was always trying to force a more bent back arm. That's not the program. That's not going to help. But that's the track that Michael Breed is on, apparently. Let's hear what he has to say.
Simple as this. Players that at impact have a straight trail arm don't hit the ball very far. Players at impact, when the trail arm is bent, they destroy the ball.
So, it's not just, here's the interesting thing. It's not just that they hit it farther. It's also that they tend to be more consistent. Players with a more bent back arm will tend to be more consistent than guys who are straighter. Tend. This is not to say that, everyone with a straighter front arm is a poor ball striker, but you tend to see this correlation of a more bent back arm and great ball striking. Lee Trevino, Ben Hogan come to mind. But then there are exceptions to this. Mo Norman didn't have an extremely bent back arm. It was bent. And so maybe it's not that you need it to be extremely bent. Maybe you just need the main thing that it's telling you. And I'll just go ahead and say what I believe the main thing that a bent back arm is communicating is that when you learned the swing, you did not overexert your back arm. And so what happened was you used more body rotation. And body rotation is just going to be more consistent. This is why, by the way, as sort of a side note, this is why, because it works in chipping or putting as well. But this is why guys will tend to, especially people who overexert their back arm, amateurs, will tend to do so much worse when the pressure's on. It's because when the pressure is on, they tend to use even more back arm exertion. It's like a panic move. It's like your body thinks, remember, everything you do is with your dominant hand in life. Most people go around, they don't even think about it. They write with their right hand or whatever hand's dominant. They pick up put away dishes, whatever, brush your teeth. Everything is done and people don't even think about it with their dominant hand. So when your body's in trouble, it's going to resort to more dominant hand. And another side note, this is why we tend to see so many of the great ball strikers, they were dominant in their front arm. They weren't even back arm dominant, at least to begin with. You know, Sergio Garcia, Greg Norman, Ben Hogan, Byron Nelson, you know, and then you have the lefties, Phil Mickelson, Mike Weir. So when you get into trouble, you know, not only are the amateurs who overuse their back arm, not only is their swing structure one in which they're overusing their back arm, and so now they're just leaving it up to the flip of their wrist for the most part to determine how square the club face is. But now the pressure's on and they're going to overuse the back arm even more. So the back arm exertion really is the enemy of any golf swing. So let's listen more to what he has to say.
And this is one thing, and I have worked with a lot of people on this. It doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter your flexibility, it doesn't matter anything. All you have to do is make sure that when...
Let me just say, I agree with him about that. This whole idea, I mean, obviously, if you have extreme restrictions in how you can move, then obviously that needs to be taken care of. But this whole idea that the problem with your golf swing is that your hip joint is not mobile enough, or look, as a human, you should get in the best possible shape. You shouldn't be structuring your practice routine around making your golf or your fitness routine around making your golf swing better, and it's not going to. The problem in the golf swing, any golf swing for the most part, is not a restriction in your movement ability. And this is popular now. Guys are making a ton of money on it, on this idea. You know, TPI is the company that comes to mind, Titleist Performance Institute. I think, with all due respect, you know, I think it's kind of a scam. You know, these guys have their degrees in kinesiology and biomechanics and all this stuff, and they flaunt that around. I don't know if these guys at Titleist Performance Institute do, but it just reeks of that same sort of thing. Like, I'm sorry, just because you took a lot of classes, you know, doesn't necessarily mean you have the golf swing figured out. No offense to those guys personally. I just see this going on, and I think it's a big red herring.
You come into this ball that your trail arm is bent. Now, what happens as a result? You're going to have more side bend, which is going to throw the ball up into the air. You're also going to be pushing back with your legs, so you'll use the ground without thinking about the ground. And you're not going to come out of the shot. You're not going to early extend. All by thinking about this one thing.
He's on the right track here. I mean, I just believe that his solution to the problem is the problem. But he's right about, you know, everything will kind of happen automatically. If you can get into a naturally bent back arm contact position, then that's really the key. So let's listen.
The bend in the trail arm. So let me show you what it looks like when you don't do it. So I'm going to take my arm and I'm going to straighten it right to the ball like this. And that's a really nice shot. It's got a nice little cut to it. The apex on that was a little bit.
So you're going to have, he's a good ball striker. I mean, as far as if you were going to compare him to an amateur, to a typical amateur, good ball striker. The typical, and he exerted the back arm more and got more of a fade. The typical amateur is exerting like crazy the back arm. They do it straight from the top. You can see in this swing, let's see his transition. We'll see how much he's actually exerting the back arm here. Okay, so it does get a little steeper. He goes from shallow to steep, so he is exerting the back arm quite a bit. but he's still, through contact, has a very good ball striker positioning through contact. I mean, he's not going to change that in one swing. So, but it shows you, he's got a little bit of a fade. That's what exerting the back arm is going to do. But for amateurs, it does it to a ridiculous amount because they're just overexerting like crazy.
And that's a really nice shot. It's got a nice little cut to it. The apex on that was a little bit low, probably about 60 feet, and it just trickles up onto that green. Don't you love when that happens? Just a ball shows up out of nowhere. Now, here's what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to come into this with my trail arm bent. I'm going to extend my arm down the line. So I'm going to feel like my extension is right where I want.
See, this is the problem, and I fought this for years, is thinking of your back arm doing something. I would try to force the back arm to stay bent. Here he's talking like it's a movement that your body does that allows the back arm to be bent at contact. And the back arm then allows the body to do this by not overexerting. And you'll figure out the right movement. If you stop overexerting the back arm, your body will have to be more involved in the hit. But he's thinking of it in terms of doing something with the back arm, keeping it bent, and then exerting it hard towards contact. This is not going to help, or towards the target. This is not going to help most people because it's not going to take care of the problem, which is an overexerting back arm.
Golf ball to go. Instead of extending down to the ball here, I want to extend to the target over there.
So what he's determined that a bent back arm is indicating is that the better ball strikers, or as he says, the ones who hit it farther, are not extending at the ball, they're extending out towards the target. What I would say is the better ball strikers have a more bent back arm at contact because overall the back arm is not exerting at the pace that it exerts in most swings. It's for the most part supporting the move that the front arm would do all on its own.
And what's going to happen is the ball's going to go higher, it's going to go faster, and it's going to go farther. That ball there, probably twice the apex, but watch where this lands. Oh, that's right, you can't see it because it went too far. I understand, that's what...
Let's see, let's just see the difference in the backswing, because if he's exerting the back arm, if he was exerting the back arm less, then he should have a flattening action of the club here, but it's pretty much the same thing. You can see he gets steeper. What I would work on with Breed is I would love to do the front arm progression with him, because he's actually getting a steeper club head. He could improve his ball striking. Notice the club head goes from here, notice the path, and gets steeper. This can be improved upon. You see this tiny steepening action in Tiger Woods' swing now. This can be improved upon simply by doing the front arm progression. You guys can get my book, The Front Arm Progression, at theswingmechanic.com. And what I would expect is that, and we don't have a frame of him exactly at contact in the other swing, but I would expect to not see the back arm any more bent in this swing. I bet you it's just the same. Let's just see. So there's a little bend here. I don't think we have a frame of him exactly at contact. No. But I would actually suspect that it's pretty much the same if we were to have both swings. So anyways, that's what I mean, I'm impressed that, they're noticing a bent back arm at contact. The conventional instructors. That's great. But it took me decades to realize what exactly was going on. And a lot of the studies by David Mann out of Amsterdam are showing that there is in fact a correlation in many of these swing sports between being dominant in your front arm and great hitting, great ball striking, whatever it might be. And the reason for that is because when hitters are dominant, hitters or ball strikers or whatever, are dominant in their front arm, their back arm is less likely to overexert. And so they have a bit of an advantage, so they're nudged in the direction of a better swing. And this is why we see a preponderance of them at the top of the list. I mean, this is what David Mann has shown, is that we are seeing an abnormal amount of them at the top of the list, as opposed to when you just look at a random group of amateurs. So thank you guys for watching. Check out my book, Front Arm Progression, at theswingmechanic.com. I go through exactly how you can develop a great swing. It's really not, it's not as hard as it has, been thought to be. You just have to stop overexerting the back arm. And when you do, you have more of your body into the hit. So thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.